Hello everyone. On the 1st of November, 7 days before the election, I made a video titled Election Results Ignored. Faithless Electors rob Trump December 19th, choose President January 7th. In the 7.5 minutes video, I tried to outline what a faithless elector was and why it was going to play a role in the election. I'm going to reiterate, I did this 7 days before the election. Most people at that time thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. However, in my video, I alleged that Mr. Trump was going to win, most likely, and if he did, that there would be an effort to get electors to flip their votes to get Ms. Clinton installed as president. Well, the election came, and sure enough, Mr. Trump won, and sure enough, within a matter of days, this exact effort has manifested itself. There is a petition at change.org with 3 million people having signed it. Now, despite all of that, I still have people commenting on the video and on other videos telling me how I was wrong when I said, and I quote, "The electors are not bound to vote for the person who won the popular vote in their state." While, yes, there are laws in certain states that do deter electors from changing their votes, they don't literally change those votes if the person decides to not follow the will of the people. It was the very reason why the Electoral College was put into place. The main reason, which most every pundit loves to tell folks, is that so the big states and the little states have equal representation. That was only part of the reason. If that had been the only reason, all the states would do every 4 years would be count up their popular vote, see who won, and then the governor would then submit their electoral votes into the tabulation session on the 7th. The reason that you elect a slate of electors is because the Founding Fathers wanted actual human being people to make that ultimate final decision, so that a person who was really, really good at swaying the masses wouldn't be able to just by force of personality take control of the nation by popular vote. It's just ridiculous. The laws are just ridiculous on their face, and to be truthful, if you want to go do your own history and not trust me on this, most of those laws, they've never been challenged. In fact, no law has ever been challenged, and almost every single constitutional scholar believes that if anybody would challenge a law binding an elector to vote a certain way, it would be struck down as unconstitutional. Because on its face it is. What would be the point of even having a person go? So, regardless of that fact, if anybody had bothered to watch the video, they would have seen that I was talking about the states that didn't have laws that were binding electors when I made the reference to them not having any laws binding them. The states being South Dakota, Utah, Tennessee, and Missouri. None of those states have laws binding, quote-unquote, binding electors. Number two, they're quintessentially red states that Mr. Trump would have been thinking were safe. And number three, they have Republican sitting governors that have openly come out against Donald Trump. The governor of Tennessee, who holds 11 electoral votes, said Trump, almost as soon as Mike Pence was named as running mate, said that Trump needed to resign and let Mike Pence have it. Have the nomination, which would be the strangest thing in the world for a guy to win a nomination for a party, pick a running mate, and then it just made no sense. And nobody was talking about it. Why, even after having won the nomination, his own party was still trying to get him to step down. But anyway, Tennessee had 11 votes. If those electors would decide to abstain or try to flip their votes, do you think, honestly, the governor, the man in charge of prosecuting faithless electors, would pursue it? No, Bill Haslam would not. The governor of South Dakota, they only have 3 electoral votes, but the governor is a man named Dennis Daugaard, and he is one of his state's 3 electors. And he made a statement saying he wasn't going to vote for Trump. Do you think if he's not going to vote for the Trump on his own ballot, do you think he's going to go vote for him as an elector? No. So there's one guaranteed for you. The state of Missouri. The state of Missouri, the governor is a man by the name of Jay Nixon. He's a Democrat. It's a red state with a blue state Democrat. Not blue state, but a Democratic governor. If any of those electors would decide to switch, Jay Nixon's not going to do anything about it. The state of Utah, this is a little bit more in the weeds, but they had one of their own candidates, a third-party candidate, that actually did really well, a man named Evan McMullen. And they, if you know anything about a man named Glenn Beck, who was a huge Tea Party leader, came out against Trump, and the Tea Party just tossed him overboard on that one. He's been a vehement anti-Trump guy, never Trump guy. He still has a lot of following and a lot of backing in the state of Utah, even though he lives in Texas now. If those people would decide to abstain and not vote for Mr. Trump, I don't think the governor of Utah would do a thing about, well, he wouldn't do anything about it because there's no law in Utah. So none of these states that I just talked about, nothing could happen if they decided to switch. Nothing at all could happen. So let's see. South Dakota 3, Utah 6, that's 9. Tennessee is 11, that makes 20. And there was one more state, Missouri. Missouri has 10, so that's 30. So there's 30 electoral votes right there. Now let's talk about Ohio. Ohio does have a law that governs the behavior of electors. It's unconstitutional, but I don't think it would ever get that far. If the state of Ohio, and its 18 electors, decided to default and go the other way, the man who would be in charge of prosecuting those electors is John Kasich. John Kasich, who called a press conference to tell everybody that he decided to write in John McCain. That's how much of a never Trump guy he is. He actually stood on stage and promised to vote for Donald Trump, or excuse me, to support Donald Trump if he was the eventual party nominee on stage on the 7th of August, 2015, with 9 other Republicans, and he welched on that promise, on that pledge. So if he's okay with himself welching on a pledge that he made before millions of people to support a man, do you think he's going to prosecute his own state's electors? No. So let's see. We had South Dakota, Utah, Missouri, Tennessee. That brought us to 30. Ohio would be another 18. That would bring us to 48. Now, I think I'm doing my math, and I'm thinking that's probably enough to bring Mr. Trump pretty close to that 270 mark. And remember, the idea here isn't to get all those votes to go for Miss Clinton. They're just to take them away from Mr. Trump. If he goes below the 270 mark, the decision for president falls in the hands of Congress. And I don't care what anyone says, he is not a friend of establishment Republicans. He's just not. They don't like him. They wouldn't stand up for him. Besides, here's the other thing a lot of people aren't talking about. When the Electoral College meets, they cast 2 votes. They cast one for president and one for vice president. They don't vote for a ticket like they do in the popular vote. So Mike Pence might very well get the 270 that he needs and more, but Trump might not. So they might confirm Mike Pence as vice president, but they would have to go back and have a meeting of the House of Representatives to have a vote on who the president might be. And here's another thing people don't know. At that point, it doesn't even have to be anybody who's on the ballot. They can choose anybody they want. Anybody from Congress. As long as they meet the criterion for being president and can govern, that's who they can choose. So I hope this has cleared up the whole not bound or bound thing. That was confusing in the earlier video. But whether you agree with me or whether you don't agree with me or whether you think it's going to happen or it's not going to happen, you can't deny the fact, and I will go ahead and scroll down here and move this closer. Published on November 1. Election results ignored. Faithless electors robbed Trump. That's 7 days before the elections, folks. Before you go looking at any other videos that have been come out like after or 2 or 3 or 4 days after the election, you might want to think what they're basing their videos on. So anyway, if you want to go check out this video, I'm going to try to add some links to it so that people don't think that I'm just making all this up. So have a great time, everyone, and God bless and good luck.